Leon,
Yo.
last time I spoke to you, well, I didn't speak to you, I watched your fight against VIP's Zelfa Barrett.
Yeah.
What cracking fight.
Great fight.
Really was a good fight.
He's a great kid as well. I like Zelfa, man, a lot.
We were just talking before, the similarities between you and him.
Yeah.
I mean, physically, you're almost identical.
Yeah.
You're both huge at super featherweight.
For real, yeah.
But on that night, I don't know, I'm just saying to you, it seemed like you were just walking on to shots and you had no fear. You know, Zelfa boxed a very clever fight. He didn't engage with you. He boxed on the back foot, made it a comfortable win for him. But you just kept walking forward, going forward, banging your chest. You were smiling all the way through it.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind?
For me, to make that fight make sense, we're gonna have to go all the way back to my first defeat. To make that make sense. So
we could talk it out, sharp.
Yeah. So obviously leading up to that fight, a lot was going on. A lot was going on in my life. A lot more than I've had to deal with in previous experiences I've ever had in my life. So at the time, I was in a relationship. Not a great one. I was slowly drifting away from my coach at the time. I was put that aside. Yeah, I was slowly drifting away from my coach, who I'm very, very close to. Do you know what I mean? Is
this your old amateur coach where I've just been sat outside?
Yeah.
That's the Leicester Unity.
Yeah. And at the time, like, I was slowly drifting away from him. I'll explain why. And then obviously at the time, I didn't really get to see my daughter for about 3 to 4 months at the time. So like in my head, like a lot was going on. Do you know what I mean? But I still got to do what I've got to do. I'm waking up, got to go train and perform and do what I've got to do. And I'm the type of person, it's like Lyon Woodstock's always okay. Do you know what I mean? In my head, he's always alright. But that's not a good way to deal with things. No one's always alright. Do you know what I'm saying? So going through the camp, there was a few places where I should have dealt with them and been a little bit more different with situations that were arising, like stuff to do with like me and my coach. Like if he'd be like, oh, you've got to go and do this, or I want to see you at this time, I was turning up like a little bit late for some things, and it was like none of it was intentional. None of it was intentional at all, because like it means a lot to me. But I just think I was letting outside things get in the way of what really matters. Do you know what I mean? So so leading up to this fight that I had with Archie, I was going through a lot of stuff to do with my past relationship, and it was alright at the beginning, but I was with for like 3.5 years. The night after the fight, I ended up leaving her. Like I said, I think the Archie Sharp fight was a very big turning point for me of realization for myself. And so it was very rocky. There was a lot of stuff that shouldn't have been going on that was going on. And when we first got together, I feel like boxing for me up until that point when I got into that relationship, because I said that was my first proper relationship.
How old were you then?
21. I think I was 21.
So when you started boxing then, basically, professionally?
22. Yeah, no, I was 22 because I was boxing for a bit, so I was 22. Yeah, I was 22. So like when I first got with the person, before that, for me, I'm looking back now. At the time, I didn't realize none of this, but looking back in hindsight, boxing was like a medicine for me. Do you know what I mean? Because I went through a lot as a child. I seen a lot of things and experienced a lot of things that a child shouldn't really be going through. Do you know what I mean? Which forces you then to grow in a certain type of way, and forces you to grow up a lot quicker than
you miss out on your childhood, don't you?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah, 100%. So for me, boxing was like a medicine for me. It was like to replace things that I lacked as a child. Do you know what I mean? Because in our household, my mum, when she was with my dad, she went through a lot of domestic violence, and my dad was also a drug abuser as well. So obviously I spent years seeing all of that. Do you know what I mean? I remember one incident. Again, a lot of stuff I feel like as a child, my child mind kind of hidden a lot away from me. So I didn't, as I got older, remember certain things. Do you know what I mean? And it's only
so your mind copes, isn't it?
Yeah. So as I've got older, and obviously this journey that I've been on, I've now been able to access some of these memories. And I remember I was talking to my brother not long ago, and there was an incident that happened here in this room. This didn't look like this. There was like a breakfast room table here and chairs and whatever. And my dad was where you are now. And there was, do you know those sugar things that you have, sugar, tea, coffee?
Oh yeah, canisters.
That one of them was full up. I don't know why it was there. I think he got it to put sugar on his cornflakes or something. And my mum was in the kitchen, and I was stood like in between like the door and this door in the kitchen, and they was arguing. I don't know what they was arguing about. And he like picks this up and he throws it out, and it hits her like in the side, and it wins her, and she like drops to the floor. And obviously she's like trying to breathe, and I was like 8 at this time, and I remember running to this door, putting my hands on either side of the door frame, and I was like, leave her alone, leave my mum alone. Like, an 8-year-old should never have to go through that. Shouldn't even be able to like register what, do you know what I mean? Like it's violence, you know what I'm saying? And it's to my mum.
And it's also, it's supposed to be to someone he loves as well.
Exactly. So I'm seeing stuff like this daily. Do you know what I'm saying? But I always struggled to remember. Like, I knew stuff happened, and I had like a rough idea of what was going on, but I could never specifically remember like actual events and like specific.
It's there in
stuff.
the background, but your mind shuts it off. It puts a blank up there, so you're not having to relive it.
100%. So obviously I was going through a lot of these crazy experiences as a kid, and my mum eventually kicked him out in the end.
How old were you then?
I think I was 11.
Right. So it was a long time this happened for.
Yeah. I was about 11 when mum finally kicked him out. 10, 11. And obviously life kind of changed a little bit after that. It got like a lot better, obviously. But then I think due to everything that happened, how my dad was, I think my mum she grew a lot of fear for certain things, you know what I mean? So we weren't allowed to like play out or go out or do these type of things that allow you to grow as a child, do you know what I mean? Like playing out in the world, do you know what I mean? Like you get your friends will knock on for your eyes, so and so coming out to play. I never got to experience any of that, do you know what I mean? I never went through none of that. I think the first time I was allowed to like go out and do what I want to do like on my own and be like my own person, I was 16. Like that's crazy, do you know what I mean? And I started boxing when I was 16, so yeah.
And so you were living here, Unity is literally just 5-10 minutes walk down the road, isn't it?
And so the first thing that I ever did when I could do what I wanted to do was go to a boxing gym. Like that's crazy. And I also had dreads right up until that point. I don't know if you can see the picture of you here when I was a kid.
I'll get a photo of that in a minute, and then
so you can see. And I got my dreads in my hat there. So and I cut my dreads when I was 16. So I had dreads literally from birth. Like my mum maintained them and that. So my hair was like past my bum, super long. And that was another thing that I'd done straight away. As soon as I started boxing, I then cut my hair. But looking back now, I've now realised like that was a lot more significant and symbolic than I realised at the time. Because for me, that was like an end of an era. Of obviously everything that happened and just inside life, do you know what I mean? Because like all I really had was just like my computer games, books to read and whatnot, and like I just spent all my time indoors, you know what I mean? I had like outside events that I would do, like if the school held basketball tournaments or
go. You got other sports as well at school?
Yeah, I really enjoyed basketball. That was like my favourite sport, do you know what I mean? So any like events that they had or like day schemes or whatever, I'd always go to them, do you know what I mean? I wasn't like a prisoner in it. I just wasn't allowed out on my own. And I think it was because my mum was just scared that something would happen to do with my dad, or if he'd take us or whatnot, do you know what I mean? So so obviously when I turned 16, I then cut all my dreads off, started boxing, and obviously from there I then started to develop and grow into my own person, do you know what I mean? Because obviously I weren't really able to do that up until that point. I never had the opportunity to.
Boxing helps you grow though, doesn't it?
That's what I'm saying. So obviously when I started boxing now, it started to become like a medicine, like a medication, do you know what I mean? It started to help me to learn who Lyon is, started to help me grow, started to get me friends, it started to make me become who I was going to like basically be for the rest of my life, do you know what I mean?
Well, how long before when you started boxing, how long before you fought?
I started boxing when I was 16, and then I had my first amateur fight when I was 18. Yeah. So I was training for like a good solid 2 years before I did anything. But in that 2 years, because my coach is like, he's an amazing coach, you know what I mean? He took me around everywhere, sparring all the
so he prepared you well before you started fighting?
Yeah.
Am I right, your first 10 fights all finished early?
Yeah, as an amateur? Knockouts, yeah, which is crazy. You know, when I think back to it and I talk about it, it sounds like made up, do you know what I mean? But it happened, like, and I participated. Well, I did it all, do you know what I mean? So it's just crazy, like, it's mad. My amateur record looks like a professional record, do you know what I mean? 24 fights, 19 KOs, like, what? That don't happen, especially if you know amateur
certainly not your way anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Like I thought
maybe if you're heavyweight,
60 kgs. That's what I thought at, and I weren't just fighting nobodies. Do you know what I mean? Like you said, we was talking about Jack Daniels. Like when I fought him, I had 18 fights. He had 70 odd.
Yeah, and I say I've been a national champion multitude of times.
Yeah, and I think I was like a Midlands champion at best. At that point.
Was that your first year in the senior elites then?
No, I think it was my second or third.
Because that was the semi-final.
That was my last like elite championship that I went into. Because it's a funny story actually. I was at the bus stop, which is just literally just there, and how old was I at this point? I think I was 19, and I got a random call on my phone. I answered it, and it was Jason McCory, and he was like, "Oh, I work for Frank Warren."
Ah, yeah, he was his matchmaker, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, we're interested in signing you." So obviously, I'm 19, I'm sitting at the bus stop waiting to go town, and I'm like thinking, "Who's this guy?" Like I thought it was just someone playing a joke. So I was like, "Okay, let me just call my coach." So I called her, and I was like, there's some strange man phoning me from Frank Warren's office saying that they want to sign me up, and I was like, I don't know if it's real. I don't know what it is. Do you know what I mean? So I gave him the number. Obviously they've spoke, and then he's got back to me and said like, oh, like it's legit. Do you know what I mean? Like they're interested. But I said to them, give me 2 years with him, so I can like focus on him, work on a couple things, and then we'll get back to you and look about turning over. So obviously at this point I'm like, yo, this is mad. Like I'm actually gonna turn pro. Like
had you thought about it before then? Before that phone call?
Of course. And the funny thing is, and I know a lot of people just say this like, oh, like I love being signed by Uncle Frank and I always wanted this, but you know, as a kid, like when I envisioned myself boxing and turned over, I always like said to myself, and I want to be signed by Frank Warren. I don't know why, and I didn't know too much about boxing myself then. All I knew is like what I'd watch when I'd watch
TV and
Ricky Hatton, and I'd see like Frank coming and doing whatever he's doing, and I'd always think like that's what I'd want promoting me. Do you know what I mean? Like I'd want that. Like when I'd see Naz and whatever, like I'd be like, that's what I want. And obviously getting that phone call is just crazy, do you know what I mean? It's mad.
So 2 years later, you turn pro?
Yeah, I turn over. But even prior to that, obviously I go into the Elite Championships with 16 fights. Do you know what I mean? Everyone in there has had a minimum of what, like 50 fights? Crazy. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Everyone's had a lot of fights.
Saying that though, it has changed a lot now. I feel in the Northwest.
Yeah.
And you know, you're getting kids that, okay, but they're still going into the elite tournaments. Maybe under 20 fights.
Yeah.
So it's quite a common occurrence now.
Yeah. But it wasn't
you're right.
back then.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't back then. So I went in there with 16 fights. I beat Ryan Fillingham, which was the number 2 seed at the time. I think he had like 75 fights, 70 wins at the time, something stupid like that. I dropped him in the first round as well. And then after that I ended up fighting Jack Daniels, who was the number 3 seed. Like, I had no right to be there. Do you know what I mean? At all. I shouldn't be mixing hands with these guys that are like top of their game, but I didn't. Obviously Hudge knew and seen something in me at the time, so I just had faith in him, do you know what I mean? And we ran with it, and it was great, man. It was mad. I remember even one time, I can't remember what championships it was, I had to fight 2 guys in one night, and I knocked both of them out.
That makes it a little bit easier, doesn't it?
No.
But in the old days, I remember the championships I went in, we had 2 fights in one day.
Yeah, man, it's mad.
Until the final.
Mad.
Sometimes it'd be even more than that. I know kids who fought 3 times.
Really?
Yeah.
Nuts, man. It's actually nuts, but it's not really a common thing nowadays.
No, it's not.
So it's one of them. Like, I don't know. I think for me that's one of the
better run these days. You know why the better run is because in our day, the elite championships started in January and finished in May.
Okay.
Now to hold weight as an amateur
for that long.
4 months.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
It's done and dusted from the regionals to the final. It's done inside a month.
Yeah.
So it's not easier, but it's better.
It works more.
Yeah,
it works better.
Because it's tiring. The weights that you're holding, even though they're a little bit more realistic as an amateur, you'll find that most amateur, when they turn professionals, end up going down in a weight as a pro, don't they?
Yeah.
But like you say, as a kid, and you would have been still a kid, you're still growing.
Yeah.
So if in 4 months, naturally, if you're 16, 17, you can quite easily grow out of a weight.
Yeah, definitely.
Without even trying.
Yeah, definitely.
So it probably does you harm, boxing in them days, because you were stunting your growth.
Yeah, definitely. That's mad. I didn't even know that. Learn something every day.
So now you've gone through these losses. You had 12 wins on the bounce.
Yeah.
And you stopped 5 of them.
Yeah.
You were making a lot of noise. There was 4 or 5 of you, the ones we're going to talk about, Sam Bowen, Kakachi who's just beating there, obviously Archie Sharp, Arzelfa Barrett. These were all the big names, and you were, if not at the top, certainly right in the middle of all of them.
Yeah.
Then the loss to Archie Sharp, which was, I think, a surprise to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Archie was probably the newest kid on the block.
Yeah.
And everyone thought your power would be able to deal with it. What went wrong?
I don't know if we touched on it. But yeah, obviously I was.
So outside, you think outside issues was more of an issue than actually in the ring?
Oh, 100%, 100%. Like I said, I've said it a million times before. Boxing is 95% mental, 5% physical. It's all to do in your head, and I feel like that is the same with just everything in life. It's all to do with your mindset, your mentality, where you are mentally within yourself. And at the time, like the whole build up, I just was not in a good place at all. Do you know what I mean? I'm not one of these people to try and throw around mental health issues or this or
we
depression.
know it's a major issue.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not one of them people to do that, because I feel like a lot of people today are very quick to self-diagnose, but then they're not got the same quickness to then do what it takes to better themselves. Do you know what I mean? They're very quick to try and rely on medication or this, that and the other, whereas we can do a lot for ourselves. Do you know what I mean? I.e. eating better, drinking water, meditating, taking time to just think more positively and be more present. Do you get what I'm saying? So
okay then, so you've had the Archie Sharp fight, and we know that there was
I'm gonna delve into
a lot of contributing factors that went wrong on that night. Then you had a comeback fight. You beat Gonzalez, and you.
I still want to talk about I ain't finished with the.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, obviously at the time, so I think I touched on it a little bit. At the time, I was drifting away from my coach. At the time, like our relationship was slowly dwindling, and it wasn't like a conscious thing at all. It wasn't something I went out of my way to make happen. Yeah, so like I was saying, boxing became like a medicine for me. Do you know what I'm saying? So then when I ended up in this relationship, I think I subconsciously started to think like, oh, I don't need boxing as much as I thought I did, because I'm finding the things, the things what I thought I needed with this girl. Do you know what I mean? And which was obviously, in hindsight looking back, is the completely wrong thing to do. You don't put what you think you need or your happiness in the hands of someone else. It's something that you have to create yourself.
Well, with boxing, I speak to loads of fighters, and they always say, boxing's the easy part, life's the hard part. So we know that, but also as a boxer, you've got to be quite selfish, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've got to think about you. Your career's only a short period of time.
Yeah.
And if you don't fully focus on it, then suddenly, as you found out, that things can sort of go away.
Yeah. So, obviously, and Udge means a lot to me. Do you know what I mean? So, for our relationship to slowly start to fade at that point, it damaged me a lot, like mentally and even emotionally as well. So obviously had that going on, and then I wasn't seeing my daughter like at all for about a good 3 to 4 months, and that really knocked me at the time. Like, I don't really show a lot. Do you get what I'm saying? Because again, Lyon Woodstock's always alright, but that's not a good way to be. But that really knocked me, and then obviously the stuff that was going on with my relationship at the time, like, and I was so set on this girl. Do you know what I mean? Like, in my head, I was like, yeah, this is who I want to be with the rest of my life. Do you know what I'm saying? So for things to just start crashing down around me was just, it proper knocked me. But I knew that I had to focus on this fight. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing I could do about it. I'm fighting and defending my title. I've got to focus on that. But again, as I said, I always tried to tell myself, Leon's alright, you're alright, you're fine, just keep going. And I just didn't address certain issues at the time. And as I left them, they just started to pile up. Do you get what I'm saying? So the night before the fight, I was at my girlfriend's house actually, and I broke down crying, and I just said to her, like, I'm going to lose. Like, I'm gonna lose tomorrow. Like, what happens when I lose? Like, I'm gonna let everyone down. Everything I've worked for, it's gonna amount to nothing. Like, I'm going to lose. I'm not gonna be able to get the win. And she was just trying to, like, obviously condone me and tell me, like, stop being silly, you don't lose, you've never lost, you've got this, wherever you came from, look who you are, what your name is, what does this mean to you, and obviously I was alright in the end, but in my head I just knew that I wasn't mentally like prepared at all. Physically I was 100%. Like, I think I smashed all the times that I've ever got in the gym ever. I think I broke a couple records that we've got. Like, I was physically in peak condition,
but mentally not in the best place.
Mentally I was a mess. I was a
well, you must have been
mess.
physically fit, because in the fight, obviously things went wrong almost straight away, didn't it?
Yeah.
But you finished the fight really strong.
Yeah.
So obviously you was in great condition.
Yeah. I was 100%. But I just mentally wasn't there. Again, but I always, at that time, I always tried to tell myself, like, no matter what is going wrong in your life, like, just focus on what is happening right now. Do you know what I mean? But you can't.
Easier said than done, isn't it?
Exactly. When you got so much going on, it's hard to zone in on specifics. So obviously it came to fight night. I'm in my dressing room, and I remember going to the toilet and looking in the mirror. I've got, like, my hands on the sink. I'm just looking at myself dead in the eyes. And I remember having, like, a full-on conversation with myself for about a good 5 minutes, and I mean, like a real 5 minutes. Like, standing staring at yourself for 5 minutes is a long time. Do you know what I mean? Like, 30 seconds to a minute is, like, that's understandable. Do you know what I mean?
So like an out of body experience.
Sort of. But I was just having a conversation with myself inside my head, and I was looking at myself, and I was just thinking, like, the man that's looking back at me right now is not a man that's ready to go out and get the W. Do you know what I mean? And I was just thinking, like, you're not ready for this. You're not ready at all. You're mentally not ready. And then obviously I was having this conversation, and then I started to be, like, a bit more positive with, like, no, come on, look who you are, look how far you've came, what you've done, look what you stand for, you've got this. Do you know what I mean? This is your night tonight. Focus on this, and then after, you can try and put everything right that's been going wrong. But right now, all you got to focus on is the fight. You're alright, don't worry. So I've come out, see my coach, and me and my coach, we have like little rituals for certain things. Do you know what I mean? So obviously when we're going into battle, going into war, we'll really tune into each other. Do you know what I'm saying? But obviously because of the things that I've previously been going on, it just like it was happening, but it just weren't.
You were forcing it.
Yeah, it weren't happening to the same effect that it normally would, and it wasn't so much that it was getting forced. It was more like everything was going the way it normally would, but inside me, it weren't connecting the way it normally does. Do you get what I'm saying? And like he put his hand on my shoulders and he would look me in my eyes and he would be like, "This is what we've came for. Look how far we've came. This is your time now. We're gonna go and defend that title, prove all these people wrong. Everyone came to support you." I'm like, yeah, man, wicked. Like, and at this point, I'm starting to feel it. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like, come on, man, just you're being stupid. You're fine. Come on, you got this. You got this. And like I've always said, there's two sides to Lyon. Do you know what I mean? There's the Lyon you're speaking to right now. He's very caring, loving person, very considerate, quite relaxed, chilled out, a bit of a donut. Like, I love to have a laugh, do you know what I mean? But then there's the dude that gets in the ring, who's yet to be named. I've never named him, but he's a very ferocious, angry force of nature, do you know what I mean?
Do you think that's where you focus back onto that time when you was a child?
Maybe.
And you use that as fuel?
Maybe. I feel like...
just keep that there and bring it out on those nights?
I feel like, especially in the amateurs, that's what I used to do. I used to draw a lot from emotion, but what you learn very quickly is that don't last forever. It's like a star that the star that shines the brightest don't shine the longest. So, and I realized that. So obviously we'll get to that part anyway. But yeah, so when I go and fight, it's like as soon as I see the crowd, the ring, the announcer, and I see just the whole setup and everything, it's like I switch straight away, and I get left in the dressing room. And then this Lyon comes forward, do you know what I mean? And he is the guy that he's in front of the cameras, he's smiling, he'll dance, he'll wink at the cameras, and do you know what I mean? He's the one with all that energy and the one that is there to rip your face off. Like, he's the nutter, he's the crazy guy, he's the one that will beat his chest and you punch him and he will smile at you and like, go on, do it again, do you know what I mean? He's the crazy guy, do you know what I mean? And as I've got older and gone on this journey, I've learned to now gel the two together. They're no longer separate, if that makes sense. But again, we'll get more into that in a bit. But anyway, so standing on the podium thing, see everyone, and I feel great. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, this is it. Do you know what I mean? This is what I do for a living. This is what I wake up for, and I feel amazing. I get in the ring. Announcer says what he's saying, whatever we're doing, bell goes, and again I feel wicked. I feel so good, popping my jab, and I distinctly remember Archie's first punch that he threw, like his jab, there was just like nothing in it whatsoever, and I remember thinking like, obviously we had a game plan, but I remember thinking like I could just walk through this guy right now and just smash him to bits. But in my head I'm thinking like, stick behind your jab, stick to the game plan, and I think obviously he's never fought in a big venue or anything, so I think at the time maybe a bit of nerves got to him, or he was second guessing himself a little bit, because there was honestly nothing in it whatsoever. So anyway, when we're moving around, I'm popping my jab, and I'm feeling good. And he was meant to be like the sharpshooter, the boxer, do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I'm beating him to the jab, and I'm moving around. And then I come round to the corner, and he throws a right, and I was always taught to slip on the outside of every punch. Don't know why I've done this. I've slipped on the inside and the right's gone over, but then he shot another shot right down the middle. And the shot didn't buzz me, it didn't hurt. Like, I'd say if it did, I'm very openly honest. Like, if he hit me and rocked me and I just didn't know where the fuck I was, I'd say, do you know what I mean? But obviously it's hit me and it's knocked me off balance and I fell on my bum. And I remember at this point, everything, like, didn't freeze, but just everything went super slow.
1 second. Yeah. Because this only a shot.
So I've slipped on the inside of his straight right, and he threw that jab, sat me down, and then at this point everything's just gone super slow motion, like really slow motion. Not to the point where everything's like still, just everything's going very, very slow. So at this point, like everything I was thinking about before the fight has instantly come back.
Yeah.
Like everything, absolutely everything. I can see everyone. I can see everyone's faces. Like I said, everything has just gone in like really slow now. And I felt like I was in this position because obviously I went back like that. And I felt like I was in this position for ages. Like, and I was just looking around. I could see everyone's faces, and I could see my people's faces, like the shock on their faces. I could see Archie's people, like they.
When those Rocky moments, when when Rocky's gone down and you see Mickey and
that's
everything.
literally what it felt like. Honestly, like everything was just super slow. And I remember thinking in my head about a million different things all at once. The first thing I thought was like, shit. What is Hudge gonna think? That is the first thing I thought, like, what's Hudge thinking? Then I was thinking, what's my mum thinking? How does she feel right now? What is my girlfriend thinking? What is all the people, my supporters thinking? What's Archie's people thinking? How does this look? Like, are they gonna count it as a slip? Is it gonna count as a down? What's gonna happen? And then obviously the referees came over and I've seen him started counting. And so I've got up straight away and in my head I'm thinking, fuck, like that's gonna count as a down. And all I'm thinking right now is I've got to chase this fight. Like, I've got to do the game plan, but sped up now. I've got to do what we was going to do later on now. Do you know what I mean? Where I didn't. Looking back now, I didn't have to do that. If I just got up and carried on boxing the way I was, I would have been able to take that fight because the fight was a lot closer than it was on the scorecards, 100%. Because when I watched that back with my coach, because I was like so distraught after the fight, but when I ended up watching it back with him, I felt like I watched a completely different fight to what I participated in. When I watched it back, I was like, yo, like that fight was a lot closer than I first realised. Like, I thought it was a shutout, but it really wasn't. When I watched it back, there was loads of points.
It was a bit of a fight at two halves. The first half to
literally.
Second half, you probably edged.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then that's when I realised, like, without that little mistake at the beginning, like that fight, I would have probably called it a draw. Do you get what I'm saying? But then, but without that, then my whole mentality would have been different throughout the whole of the fight. So it's one of them. Do you get what I'm saying? But obviously, after that point, fight's finished. He's got the decision, and we've come out of the ring. And I remember there was like barricades, and obviously where the seats are and that, and something was kicking off there. And I just knew in my heart that I've let my coach down. Do you know what I mean? And it's not because I picked up a loss. I could have lost that fight, but it's what happened in the build up to the fight. Do you get what I'm saying? And I just knew that it upset him. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it hurt him. And anyway, so stuff's kicking off out there, and even still, after all of the stuff that was happening and going on, he still had my back. Because they was like shouting stuff about my mum and something about my girlfriend and whatever, just stupid stuff. You know what drunk guys are like. And he's gone to them, he was like, fucking behave yourself, carry on, blah, blah, like, and I can't remember exactly what he was saying, but in my mind at that point, I was just like, yo, this man really cares about me. Do you know what I mean? Regardless of what's happened, he's still got my back. I'm still his boy.
Coach and fighter are a very, very close bond. It's, you know, that's why the breakups sometimes between coaches and fighters are so hard, because love and hate are a very, very thin line, you know, and like say the love that a coach has for his fighters is a ridiculous bond. Sometimes it's father son, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. He really is my father figure, because I never really had one. Do you know what I'm saying? And again, like I said, as soon as I was able to leave the house and be me, I ended up straight in the gym. Do you know what I mean? So he's pretty much been as far as I'm concerned, he's been in my life my whole life. Do you know what I mean? And he's made me the person I am.
Well, that fight's out of the way. And obviously you this is where you've reevaluated yourself then.
Well, what happened after that? The day after that, I then ended up, because then I realised a lot more. That I realised, like, from this happening and what has been going on in my life, there's certain things that can't continue, regardless if I feel like I want them in my life or need this person or whatever. There's certain things that have to change, because for me to go forward and continue on this journey and be who I have envisioned myself to be for so many years, I can't be that if I'm with this person. Do you get what I'm saying? So as much as I wanted that and still wanted to make it work as much as I couldn't, because it's now starting to, the problems and the situation is now starting to seep into my career, and that my career is bigger than me. Do you get what I'm saying? There's a lot more in my career to do with just me becoming a world champion. There's a lot more to it. Do you get what I'm saying? There's a lot more that goes into it. So the day after the fight, and obviously I just had to have that conversation with her, and we had to part ways. Do you know what I'm saying? And sometimes the things that we want in life is not the things that we need. Do you get what I'm saying? So I had to put my wants second for what I need in my life. Do you get what I'm saying? So after that, so I say that was probably like the loss was definitely like the beginning of my spiritual awakening, 100%. Because I feel like a lot of my life before that point was very much of a blur, if that makes sense. I was never really present in a lot of...
You was doing it because you know nothing else? Basically,
yeah. And I could never really be in many of the moments prior to the Odd Sharp loss. I could never be present in these moments. There was just, everything was happening around me real quick.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I was just like being involved in it, but I wasn't present in it. I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't conscious in the moment of these experiences. So everything is like very blurry up until that point. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like from that point onwards, everything has just became a lot more clearer. Like even like my memory prior to that, it's just very blurry. Like I remember stuff, but it ain't like clear as day. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, because everything was just so quick in my life at that point. But I've been able to slow things down now, and I'm able to register everything properly now. Do you get what I'm saying?
You need that time to do it. This 9 months that you've had out since the Zelfa loss, has that been great? Is that where you've made?
Yeah, we're definitely going to work today. I've still got a lot more to tell you. Do you know what I mean? It's a long story. I did tell you it's long. So yeah. Obviously after that, so at this point in my head, I've lost my career now. I'm thinking like that's pretty much me done. Obviously it's not, do you know what I mean? But I'm talking at that moment in time.
Yeah.
That's how I'm thinking. So in my head I've lost my career. The relationship with my coach is like just going down, and he's the most important person to me in my life. Do you know what I'm saying? Like outside of my daughter and my mom. Do you know what I mean? Like there's no one more important to me than him. So obviously that's going down the toilet. I've just parted with the person I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with, and I'm still not seeing my daughter.
So your world's self-destructing, is it?
Literally everything is just collapsed around me at this point. So I remember like I was waking up days where I wouldn't even want to brush my teeth or do anything, like, and it's not just because of the loss, and none of this is an excuse for anything at all, because if I could make a time machine and go back, hand on my heart, may God be my witness now and strike me down if I'm chatting shit, like I would not change a thing. Like I would not do it. And even if I could go back and tell me
yourself
in that situation anything to try and change it, I wouldn't.
Sometimes that's the lessons you need to learn though, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because learning the hard way it might be a hard way, but sometimes it's the best way.
It is. It really is.
Zelfa did the same thing when he lost to Ronnie Clark.
Yeah.
You know, he come back a far better fighter with the time off and the injury that he had in between that loss, and it was his first loss.
Yeah.
He felt exactly the same as you. He had an injury, and then it was like, well, what do I do? And he had time to think.
Yeah.
And you know, as you were saying before, boxing, as physical as it is, it's a mind sport, especially when you get to the levels that you are all. When you get to that, you're there or thereabouts for the British, and if you become British, you're then there or thereabouts for the world team.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but yeah, for a while, I was just in a very, very, very dark place. And again, like I said, it's not an excuse for nothing at all. If I could make that time machine go back, change anything, I wouldn't, because I'd know that Leon needs to experience what he's about to go through. And for him to be all these things that he says he wants to be and attain the goals that he says that he wants to get, he has to go through this. Even though I know it's gonna hurt him and it's gonna be hard for him to get through this, and he's gonna be second guessing himself.
I love the way you talk about yourself in the third person.
Yeah,
is that because it's meditation that you do?
100%. It makes you realise like there's a lot more to everything. Do you get what I'm saying? But again, we'll get there. We're not there yet. But so I know that he would need to go through that. So I would, even though I know it's going to be painful for him and hard and a very questionable stage for him, I wouldn't intervene. Do you get what I'm saying? Because I would know what happens in the end for him. Do you get what I'm saying? So I was in a very, very, very dark place. And again, like I said earlier, I'm not one to try and throw around mental health issues, this, that and the other, because there's genuine people that are going through really hard times, do you know what I mean, right now in the world. And
but as a sports person, those feelings of highs and lows are emphasised a lot more. Yes. Because when you win, there's no better feeling than that. When you get your hand raised, and obviously you've now done it on the big stage a couple of times, and suddenly a loss from that low must have been, it was like falling from Mount Everest.
Yeah. Literally. That's a good analogy. Yeah, for real. It was, especially everything that was going outside. You know what, it wasn't so much like the loss that hit me the heaviest. I think it was just a multitude of everything all at once hitting me. Do you get what I'm saying? Which was like a big hit, a really big hit. Because literally everything that has ever meant anything to me, I've lost. It's gone. Do you know what I mean? So I was just like, I had nothing. Do you know what I mean? Well, I didn't, but in my mind at the time, I had nothing. So I went into a really, really dark hole. It felt like I was in a wet, muddy hole. And anytime I was nearly at the top, I'd just fall all the way back down to the bottom. I was consistently questioning myself. Like, my mind would just work overtime. Do you know what I mean? I'd analyse everything. I'd see everything. And my mind would be thinking about thinking. Like, it's just being complete overdrive. Do you know what I mean? And I got to a point where I realised I need to do something about this. Something needs to change, because I can't continue to think and feel like this. Something has to change, and the only way anything is going to change is if I go out of my way to do that. So I need to help myself. Do you get what I'm saying? And my coach was there for me through the whole thing. Do you know what I mean? Even though I know he was upset and felt let down by me, he'd call me every now and then, like, oh, what you doing? Let's go get some food, or let's go for a walk at Abbey Park, or let's go Bradgate Park. And he'd talk to me, and we went over the fight and what I need to do next, and how my mind is. And he was proper there for me. Do you know what I mean? He really cared about me, even though he's a very stern, serious man. Do you know what I mean? He's like a general from like the army or something. Do you know what I mean? That's his stamp. That's the way he is. Good for you. Yeah, definitely. And he wanted me to come back into the gym, and he was like, oh, we'll get started at this time. And in my head at the time, I was like, I couldn't think of anything worse. The idea of boxing I just didn't want to put on a pair of gloves again. Not yet anyway, do you know what I mean? And he was like, we'll do this, do that. And I was like, all right, cool. And I started training again. Nothing serious, just being in the gym, do you know what I mean? Doing some work on the pads, doing some work on the bags. And I started to think to myself, like, I need to start changing things. So I started eating a bit better. I didn't have no fight or anything coming up, do you know what I mean? So I just started eating better.
What was your diet like before?
Shit. Yeah, very shit. I was just eating whatever I wanted. Like, I don't really put on loads of weight, do you know what I mean? So even though I was eating bad, I didn't look too different. But like, my skin would break out, do you know what I mean? I had like quite bad spots. My skin got bad, and my sleep's always been terrible, but it got even worse. Do you know what I mean? I was going to bed like 4 or 5 in the morning. Like, I just couldn't sleep. And it was mainly due to how my mind goes into overdrive and just consistently thinks all the time, 24/7. And like, my mind at that time, and even prior, like my whole life really, it's never been quiet, it's never been silent. I've never really been able to just take time to think. Do you know what I'm saying? So I started to change a lot of things, started to eat better. I started drinking water, like a lot of water. And one thing people don't understand is that the atoms in our body react to energy. Energy is a very real thing. It's the reason there is anything anyway. Do you know what I mean? And energy vibrates. That's why this is solid and that's why this is soft. They vibrate at different frequencies. Do you get what I'm saying? So everything works off energy. And for your body to move these atoms about, to make your lungs work, your blood work, and your heart, blah 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 blah, there has to be energy, which is like making these things move, generating them. And you got positive energy, neutral energy, and negative energy. So if we're consistently thinking in sad or negative types of mindsets, or thinking bad about certain situations, it's going to affect you. Or thinking bad about yourself, it's going to affect you, because then the energy that is moving everything around your body is negative energy. Do you get what I'm saying? So when I realized this, I then started to force myself to start thinking positively, just to start trying to make a positive reaction, to get some sort of reaction, to make something change, because I just knew I couldn't continue to be like that. So,
I always say, I talk to a lot of boxers, I always say that the best boxers always find a positive out of whatever negative is thrown at them.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And you find the kids who are at the top is because they will always look, if the fight falls through, or this happens, they get injured, they say it's for a reason. And they never look on that negative side. And you're right, it's an amazing part of boxing.
It is of life, just life in general. It's an amazing thing. Like, we're a lot more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. But so I just started thinking a lot more positively, and then I started to go really deep into meditation. Like, I started to spend a lot more time with myself, but a lot more positive time with myself, not negative time.
Is there a set time that you do this? Is it like when you wake up in the morning, do you have 10 minutes, or before you go to bed, do you have half an hour where you think so you can sleep? What?
I think it's different for everyone. For me, it was more, I would get like a feeling when I need to start doing it. I could just be doing my normal day. It's not like an everyday thing I did. I'd just get like a feeling like, I need to do it. Do you know what I mean? And I never planned for how long. It would just happen, and for however long it happened for.
What happens when it happens, and what do you do?
It's different every single time. Like when I first started doing it more seriously, when I started to make them changes, I think it just gave me, to start with, a bit just more peace of mind, a change of perspective on myself, the world, boxing, everything. It made me realize a lot of stuff about myself as well. So when I get these random urges from obviously trying to change just something so I could start putting myself in the right direction, I'd start meditating. And at the beginning, when I first started doing these changes, they didn't happen straight away. There'll be times I'll plan like, I'm gonna have this to eat, or I'm gonna drink this much water, or I'm gonna do a little run today, or just something positive. There was a lot of times where it didn't happen. Do you know what I mean? I'm not gonna lie to you and be like, I said I was gonna do this, and it all happened, and I was amazing and happily ever after. It didn't go like that. Do you know what I mean? It was hard. I had to force myself to do a lot of stuff to begin with, and a lot of times it wouldn't happen, and then it would happen, and then it wouldn't happen, then it would happen, and then I kind of got to a stage where it was just more consistent. It was just happening. I'd just go out and run. I was coming back, eating cleaner, drinking a lot more water, thinking a lot more positively about myself and situations, and started meditating more. And all these things combined, then I started to slowly see the change I was looking for. It didn't happen straight away. I had to keep doing these things, I had to keep focusing, I had to keep disciplined. And I think that's a very big thing in this whole journey, is like the discipline that I've got from it. Because that's one thing I feel like I've lacked a lot in my life, is discipline. I think that comes from the fact that I've never really had anyone in my life to enforce discipline. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously I've just had my mum, and my mum's amazing. Do you know what I mean? I have to tip my hat to her 24/7 for creating what she created from having nothing. Do you know what I mean? We had nothing. Do you know what I mean? And it was just her. So to do what she's done, get out, Tyson, you stupid idiot.
There you go.
Yeah. So to do that and create what she's created with me and my brother from literally nothing, like, is amazing. Do you know what I'm saying? But obviously, and I'm a big believer of this, only a man knows how to raise a man. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you know the morals a man...
It takes the right man though.
Yeah, of course, 100%. But if you to be classed as a man by me, you have to reach certain things. Do you know what I mean? You have to stand for certain things. You have to have certain morals. And if you don't, then you're not a man. Do you know what I'm saying? But yeah. So, what part did I get to? I'm trying to think now.
Well, you've now coming back. You've started medicating. Well, you started your meditation and being stronger and putting a little bit of structure to your life.
Discipline. That's where we're going. Yeah. So the discipline. And I feel like that's been a big part in this whole journey for me. It's allowed me to start having that discipline because it wasn't really installed in me from young. Do you get what I'm saying? So going through this whole journey, like, it's allowed me to be able to have some more self-control, more self-discipline. Do you know what I'm saying? Because these things just didn't happen straight away. Do you know what I'm saying?
You've had 9 months, obviously. You were putting that in place before the Zelfa fight. That came along. Were you ready for that Zelfa Barrett fight then?
That's literally what we're just about to get onto
now.
Yeah. So anyway, I've got to, I've started to feel great now. Started to feel wicked. I'm starting to think like I've got myself out of this hole that I was in, and I've done it myself. Do you know what I'm saying? So at this point, I'm thinking, like, I'm ready to start fighting again. I'm ready to start getting back in the gym. We get back into camp, and I can feel me and my coach are starting to like gravitate towards each other a lot more now, and like we're doing pads, and like I can feel the connection. It's starting to come back. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I've started to make these changes, and I'm obviously at the time. I was always comparing myself to how I felt after that fight to how I felt at that time. So I was thinking like, yeah, I'm all right. Do you know what I mean? I've overcame all these things, and I'm starting to feel great again. So then we have the run out fight, and I boxed 2 instructions. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's always been like not an entirely difficult thing for me, but I've struggled with it because I'm a very exuberant person. I've got a lot of energy, a lot of character, and a lot of the time I'll get lost in the fight and my emotions will take over. Do you know what I mean? So for me, again, like I said, the discipline thing that was starting to show itself now. Hodge was telling me to be and box a certain type of way, and I was able to do it. I was able to take the instructions and then play it out. Do you know what I mean? And I boxed behind my jab. I had great defense. I was catching the guy when I need to with the shots that we worked on specifically for this opponent. I did everything that I need to, regardless of whatever them commentators were saying. I'm not bothered. All I cared about is doing what I was told, and that's exactly what I did. And then the last round, Hodge says, "You've given me everything that I've asked of you now." He's like, "Now I want you to show me some hands." And that's what I went out and did. Do you know what I mean? I put him down in that last round. And for me, that was the first time I put someone down in a long time. And because up until that point, I kept questioning myself, like, what's happened? Like, I hit guys now and like they're not moving. Do you know what I mean? Like, have I lost my power? Like, what's happened? Like, I just started to question myself. And obviously looking back now, I've now realised it was a lot to do with the fact that I weren't together here. Do you know what I mean? And like, it's a whole kinetic linkage. You know, when you're fighting, it's a very for me, it's a beautiful thing. And if there's any chinks or any like blockages in the whole circuit of your whole body, you will stop the flow, exactly like you said. And so, and I feel like everything that was happening in my life at that time, that's why things just weren't, do you know what I mean? It was just like, just it not happening. It was like almost forced. Do you know what I'm saying? But then obviously now I've started to put things right and things started happening. I was just starting to flow a lot more, and there was less blockages in my links. Do you get what I'm saying? So then after that, I'm feeling on top of the world, like, yo, everything's going right again. Like, again, consistently comparing myself back to how I felt at that time to how I felt then. I was like I've done it, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? But little did I know that I was literally only just halfway through. I would say at that point,
Just scratching the surface with you?
Yeah, right up to the point of the Zelfa fight, I would say I was like 65 to 75% of my way through this journey. Do you know what I'm saying? But obviously, because I was comparing myself to then, to how I felt then, I would kind of
like, you were complete because you were so
much better. Yeah, but I think it's because I wouldn't say I was tricking myself. I just got ahead of myself.
Yeah. Is it like chi? Do you study that? You know,
chi. Yeah, energy.
Yeah, that's energy. The flow, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So obviously, then when we got the Zelfa fight, I was thinking, yeah, that's perfect. That's amazing. Let's go for that. And it was a great camp. Trained wicked. Like mentally, I felt okay. But for me, I felt like because at this point, I discovered this new whole side to me. And this, I wouldn't say a new style, but I started to feel like my styles started to gel together a lot more. My boxing with my fighting, my counter punching, and knowing when to change range and what range to do what. Like, it just started to slowly start to merge together a lot better. But I don't feel like I had enough time with it. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I got ahead of myself.
To perfect it.
Exactly. So I feel like I didn't have enough time with it, but I thought I did. Do you know what I mean? I got ahead of myself too much. So, and that's why the Lyon that box Archie looks very different to the Lyon that box Zelfa, because the Lyon that box Zelfa is trying to do these things that I've learned and that them express this new form and mindset that I've got to. Do you get what I'm saying? But I just didn't have enough time with it.
But then Zelfa was all probably doing a little bit similar to you, because he'd gone through that transition himself.
Yeah. And
he also boxed to instruction.
Yeah,
Zelfa was going through a phenomenal record until the loss to Ronnie Clark. I think he'd stopped something like 11 of his last 12 opponents going into that fight.
Yeah.
So he was confident that that's all I need, I'll take him out, and that. And then, like you said, he that loss, he came back and he fought a kid that he just fought before. He fought a kid, Elvin Tellis, I think it was.
Okay.
And he ended up doing 8 rounds with him on the Manchester Arena, big stage. Got injured, coming back from the injury, then fought the kid again.
Yeah.
But he had time to think and reflect on the loss and this and that. And the kid that had gone 8 rounds with him, he finished in 2.
Yeah.
You know, and suddenly he's in with you, and he's boxed like I've never seen him box before. He was caged. There was a real game plan to him. You know, he knew that you were as strong as him, so he boxed on his back foot. You kept coming forward. You played into his hands. And Zelfa then went on to have a fantastic defence against Jordan McCrawley where I think in Jordan he was allowed to express himself a little bit more. He boxed to a game plan against you, which worked, and then he was allowed to express himself, and you perhaps maybe there was one fight missing between getting with Zelfa.
I agree with you to be honest, but like it was never my skill set was never the issue. Do you know what I'm saying? It was more my mindset. Like, there was things that we worked on and that Hutch was telling me, and like I was struggling to put them into play.
I'm gonna call you 1 second. We're gonna, because it'll cut out again and we'll be chatting. Right, sorry.
So like there was a lot of things that we worked on and that we was going to do that I just struggled to put into play in the fight. Do you get what I'm saying? And I think it was because I just, again, like I said, I didn't have enough time with this newfound Lyon, if you like. And like mentally for me, I think I started to beat myself up in the fight, which then didn't allow me to execute these things that we've worked on. Do you get what I'm saying? So even Zelfa came up to me after the fight. He was like, yo, since when was you able to box? Like, when did that happen? Because there was a lot of times where it was like we was both like in a gunslinging position. Do you know what I mean? Like shooting for that jab, waiting for like it's a completely different dynamic to my game. Do you get what I'm saying? And I just feel like I needed just a little bit more time. Like you said, maybe I was missing one more fight in between to then move forward. But when you get these opportunities,
you can't sit there. You know what I mean?
And at the time, I wasn't as active as I would have liked to have been. Do you know what I mean? Through my career, apart from my first year and a half, I've not really been as active as I would have liked to have been. But that's obviously to do with like my my own team and whatever. Do you know what I mean? So, and again, 2020, a lot of things have changed. So since obviously that point, that I needed the Archie Sharp fight to start the journey, and I needed the Zelfa fight to make me realise like I'm not at the end yet, because obviously I was under the influence that I was. But after that fight, I then realised like, no, you need more time. Do you know what I mean? And I think this gap between the Zelfa fight to now is exactly what I've needed.
And have you still been in the gym then?
The whole time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I said, the Archie Sharp loss knocked me real bad, and I think it knocked me as bad as it did because of everything that was going on around it and outside of it. The Zelfa Barrett loss, like, obviously I was still down about it and sad, because who don't want to get the win? I wanted to give the title to my coach and whatnot. Do you know what I mean? I wanted to get it for him, but it didn't hit me in the same way. It was like, as soon as it happened, all I was thinking is like, right, what do I need to learn from this? What did I not get right? What do I need to put right? What am I focusing on now to make me the best me for the next time that I get in the ring? And taking this time out is definitely what I needed, and to be more present and focus on myself, like, even more. So after that, I then started to really focus like on myself and started to really take time to give to myself. Do you know what I mean? Because if you ask someone to just like spend some time like with themselves in a room, no phone, no nothing, just on your own for an hour or even 2 hours, they could not do it. Do you know what I mean? And if you ask them, oh, why wouldn't you go to, oh, because I'll get bored or but the real answer to that is because they don't like their own company, they don't like themselves, which shows that there is obviously issues that they need to arise themselves and sort out, but they won't. Do you know what I mean? They'll always be trying, what's the word I'm looking for, just like keep themselves under the influence, like, oh, everything's fine,
distraction.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to distract themselves.
Well, your meditation, my meditation used to be in my van. I had a van, and when the battery died, the radio died, and I never knew the code to tie it back in it again. So everywhere I was going, I used to think about what I was doing, because I had no radio, no distraction or anything.
This is what I'm saying.
And do you know something? It is good, and I do miss it. I've now got a car with a radio in it.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I'm just driving out with my daughter's going, are you mad?
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, I'm so used to not having a radio that I often just don't bother putting it on, and it's great the amount of time you get to think and put things into place.
And to actually spend time with yourself. Do you get what I'm saying?
No one else wants to spend time with me, so I have to do it that way.
I wouldn't mind. You're awesome, man. I think you're a great guy. But yeah, like, people just, they're not comfortable with themselves. Do you get what I'm saying? And when I started meditating, and again, like you said, there's so many different ways to meditate. Everyone has their own like different way. Do you know what I mean? It's not your.
So you don't sit cross-legged with your fingers.
I don't. Going on. I actually did a bit of research on that. Like, there's a reason that they use the word and it's to do with the vibration you create and what the word stands for and means. I think it means life or something like that. And the vibrations you make through going like, it's actually a certain frequency.
There's usually some method in every madness.
Yeah, literally. Like, it's meant to hit some sort of frequency to do with something. I ain't gone too deep into it, but it was quite interesting. But there's so many different ways. And so I started to really like focus on that, do you know what I mean? And I really went into myself, not in a negative way, just like to see what needed fixing and what needed moving, or what I needed to do to get me right. Because my coach has always told me, like, because if you go around, because I go around sparring, I've sparred world champions and everything, and I perform great. Do you know what I'm saying? I do outstandingly well. Sorry, and I know it's frustrating for my coach, because he sees this great fighter in all these gyms that he takes me to, and then I just struggle to sometimes put it all together on the night. And he always says it 24/7, and I used to think he was just trying to say it to make me feel good. Like, you guys have not seen the best Lyon Woodstock yet, like, just wait until this, like, I've seen him. And he'd always say to me, like, when Leon realizes it himself and sorts out what is in between his ears, my brain, is like, that's when you'll see the best Lyon Woodstock, and it won't be until then. And previously, I used to think he was just trying to be nice, he was just trying to boost my confidence or get my head right and get me focusing. But obviously from going through this journey, I see what he means now. I get what he's saying, and I feel like that's what's also made me put myself through this whole experience. Do you know what I mean? Because I could have just shut myself away.
I was talking about it because I presume this is the 6th or 7th time you've gone through this.
Yeah.
Has this helped you to even more put things into
100%.
place?
Like every time I've done this interview, it's allowed me to understand things even deeper. I can't
use the word exclusive no more, can I?
But yeah, it's been nice. It's been nice to meet people that want to hear my story. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I find it quite beautiful in itself. But yeah, so obviously after that experience, I really went into myself, and on the 24th of January, in the night, I had a really profound experience with meditation, and I think that's like the point that I needed to get to, like the penny drop. Like, do you know what I mean? And I had a normal day, nothing out of the ordinary. Came home, and again, I never really planned. I don't plan when it's gonna happen or whatever. It's just I get a feeling like, oh, I need to do it. So I had like a vibrational frequency thing on YouTube, just on, and I had a blindfold on and I had earplugs on as well, and I was just lying on my back, and do you play PlayStation?
No.
Oh, yeah, if you leave
my
it
son
on.
does, and the last time I played it was about when my son was about 3 years old, so it's got to be PS1. 19 years. It was a PS1, a little white one, and it was called Hogs of War, which was a brilliant game. Please don't shoot me. It was, very, very. But that was the last time. So when I go into my son's room now and I watch him play FIFA, and I'm thinking he's watching a real game. The graphics are amazing, aren't they? I'm just getting old out. I'm old out. Yeah, that's what it is.
But yeah, so if you leave that on for a certain amount of time, because that's what I was using YouTube on, it turns itself off. So obviously I'm laying there, and and I'm in pitch black now because obviously it's turned itself off, but I don't realise it because obviously I go really deep into myself now when I meditate, and I didn't even realise it was off. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like I could still hear the like in my head. Do you know what I mean? And then I realised like I was like in a type of void, like where there was like it wasn't dark, it wasn't light either. I was under the influence. There was like just no time. There was nothing. It was just like a void, and all that was there was my consciousness. I could hear my consciousness speaking, and it started to speak to me, which has never happened before, and it was really weird. It's like it had its own mind and was telling me stuff. I'm not going to delve too deep into what it was talking about because it's quite personal, but it gave off a lot of love and a lot of encouragement.
Can you find that space now, that place easy? Is that place now you found it once? Is it there that you can get to whenever you need it?
I wouldn't say it's easy, and it like if I was to like go away from you now and go upstairs and focus and go back like into myself, I could get there again, definitely, but I haven't needed to, so I haven't.
Because have you ever tried those things where you get submerged in water and you're all black?
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah, I've done that as well, but I still weren't reaching this form of meditation. I never got to these heights. Do you know what I mean? I felt like I had like a conversation with the most highest consciousness ever. It was so surreal. It was weird. And it was just telling me so much encouragement and how much it loves me and loves what I'm doing, and to encourage me to keep going and don't be disheartened by certain things that have happened, and that everything that I'm doing is all going to amount to something, and everything that has happened will in time make sense. Just don't question anything and keep following like in faith. Do you know what I mean? Keep believing and everything will be fine. A lot of other stuff was said as well. Because I had questions myself for certain things. I didn't take the piss and ask stupid questions like, what is the meaning of life? Do you know what I mean?
47.
Yeah.
That's the meaning of life. 47. That was the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That was the answer to everything. 47.
That's so jokes. I've actually watched that film. But
yeah. The TV series is far better than the films.
Oh, for real?
Oh, the TV. If you ever get a box set, just watch it. It's so funny.
I'm gonna have a look.
And bizarre. And the way that guy's mind thought, he'd probably been on a few your journeys. Amazing. Yeah.
That's crazy. But yeah, so after that experience, I've regained myself now. I've took my blindfold off, and I've took my earplugs out, and I'm just sitting on my bed and thinking, what the fuck has just happened? Like, I've never experienced anything like that in my life. It was like a really weird out of body experience. And the first thing I noticed after I took my blindfold off and that is that everything in my mind was quiet, very quiet for the first time in
peace.
Yeah, for the first time in a long time, I could have silence. My brain weren't going tick 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 tick. Do you know what I mean? Like. And this wasn't even that long ago, do you know what I mean? 24th of January. Like, obviously I've been working, and it's got better and better and better. But after that experience right there, it's like it was just a big turning point.
So you're excited then for March the 29th?
Yeah, definitely.
It seems like you...
Because, like, obviously having that experience and everything quieting down, I then noticed I was allowed to focus on certain things that I wanted to, like specific things, without me trying to think about everything else. Do you know what I'm saying? So when Hudge be trying to show me...
So your mind going blah 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 all over the place.
It's just like, boom, like I could target in on anything that I wanted.
Your coach loves this now then, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah, trust me, he's happy with me at the moment. Which is, it's hard to get Hudge happy, do you know what I mean? It's hard to get him happy, but at the moment he's happy with me. He's showing me things and I'm getting it straight away. I'm picking things up straight away. And if there is things that I need to slightly work on a bit, like when I do, it doesn't take me too long to like get the crack of it. Do you know what I mean? And then that night, anyway, that I ended up going to sleep, because I think I started around 9 o'clock, and I remember when I took my blindfold off and everything, and I looked at my phone, it was like 3-4 in the morning. So I was like, fucking hell, I was gone for ages. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was gone for a long time. But yeah, so when I ended up going to sleep, because of how my brain usually works prior to that experience, and how it's consistently thinking, I'd always struggle to sleep because my mind would just go in overdrive. I think about everything. It would think about thinking. Like, it just got stupid, do you know what I mean? But as soon as I laid down, I went to sleep within like 5 minutes, and I had a dream. Like, and I've not had a dream, I can't even remember the last dream I had, do you know what I mean, before that point. Yeah. Like, and I miss
dreams.
Huh?
I miss dreams.
That's what I'm saying, like...
When I work away from home, I used to dream a lot. Wow. When I'm at home, I don't dream, and it's sad. I like dreams.
Dreams are such a beautiful thing. Like, I honestly feel like when we dream, we actually go to wherever we see ourselves, and we become the creators of the reality. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's why weird, crazy things can happen, because we can control it all. We are the masters of the universe that we go to. Do you get what I'm saying? So we can make anything happen. So we go from this physical world to whatever the hell that is, that crazy place. But yeah, and I woke up in the morning, and I remember thinking, like, it's still quiet in here. And I had a dream, and I can remember it. Do you know what I mean? Like, which I've never been able to do. I found it so strange.
Well, it's sad that, isn't it? You wake up, you're in a wonderful place, and then within a few seconds you can't remember that wonderful place.
I could remember it straight away, do you know what I mean? It was just weird, like, and it was such a vivid, surreal dream. And then I went training that morning, and I just felt great, do you know what I mean? And I kept thinking to myself, like, this is too good to be true. Like, I bet tomorrow my brain's going to start going into overdrive again. I probably won't have a dream tonight, or it was just like a brief thing just because I did the meditation. But I went to bed that night, same thing happened. That night I had 4 dreams, and I remembered each one like after I woke up. Like 4 completely different, unrelated dreams. I remembered every single one of them.
So this is what? This is almost what? Less than 2.5 weeks ago?
24th of January, yeah. Crazy, I know. And then again.
Well, how now you're in this great place, this great headspace where you've never been before.
Yeah.
Do you want to put pressure on yourself? Because every fighter, and there's certainly a fighter that can stop people the way you've been doing.
Yeah.
You always dream of being a world champion.
Yeah.
So do you want to still dream that, or do you not want to put that pressure on yourself? How do you go about going forward? This fight, is it going to be a 6 or an 8 round? I don't know what's it going to be.
I think it's a 6 rounder.
6 rounder.
Yeah.
And then this is just for you to what are you going to get out of this?
I think for me, it's going to allow me to see how I now feel and react in the same environment, fighting environment. Do you get what I'm saying? Because normally, like I said, when I get in the ring, everything is very much a blur. I don't really, because it's just all very fast, and I don't get to be very present in the moment. Do you know what I mean? Which doesn't allow me to have as much control as I probably should. But now, obviously, because I've gone through these experiences, I feel like I'm a lot more in control of what happens.
So maybe you don't want to rush then. Maybe you need to have maybe another 3, maybe even 4 fights, you know, another 2, 3 rounds, an 8 rounder, then look at maybe getting back at that title stage, because you're going to have to refine yourself and know what those good feelings are pre-fight, because you I know you've very limited amateur experience, and obviously when you hit the big scene as a professional, again, still very limited.
100 miles an hour,
what, just over 30 fights altogether by the time you got your first major title as a professional. So I presume it should be fast learning, but you do still need
of course,
3 learning fights.
That is literally going to be like the process. Do you know what I mean? That's our idea right now. That's why instead of just having 1 or 2 fights a year, I'll have about 3, 4, maybe even 5 this year. Do you know what I mean? Just so I can get comfortable with
the new you.
Yeah, literally. Honestly, that is the best way to put it.
And then obviously this is great because it's not on a TV show, it's on Clifton Mitchell's show, but a great card because we're talking about Ben Fields, what
that's going to be a wicked
fight for the central, your old title, not your weight, but your old title and the Midlands area title. I presume this is about you rebuilding and then, like you say, re-evaluating perhaps at the end of the year. Yeah,
well, I know there's, like, I'm looking for a big fight come the mid-end of the year, like off the back of the end of the year.
How's Frank been with you?
Fine, he's been fine. They've been really helpful. Yeah. They have. They've looked after me, to be honest. They've been well. There's been, obviously, again, life's a roller coaster. Everything's ups and downs, and people are not going to be pleased 24/7, even on my end. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're human beings. Do you know what I mean? But it's gone good. Do you know what I mean? I'll stay with Frank. Like I said, in my head when I was a kid, that was what I wanted, and I'm adamant that's what I'm gonna make happen, unless something happens to change it.
I know he's lost a few people just recently. Josh, one of our fighters, he's gone, and obviously Billy Joe. But realistically, if everything goes the way he wants with Dubois and Joyce, he's got the future of heavyweight boxing.
100%.
And the future of heavyweight boxing is the future of boxing, if you know what I mean. So
definitely.
I mean, who do you think will win in that?
What, between Dubois and Joyce? I like Dubois. I think personally this might be a little bit too soon for him, but because obviously the division they're in, and obviously Dubois is a big puncher anyway, regardless of being a heavyweight. Like, he hits hard. Sorry, pardon me, that was disgusting. That just came out. I feel like he will have that chance. Do you know what I mean? But I think Joyce is just too seasoned. Do you know what I mean? He's had all that experience from the WSBs. He's a lot. He's a lot older.
Something though? I was very surprised. I thought Nathan Gorman and Dubois would be a much closer fight than it was. But I believe Dubois has just added so much to his game.
No, he's
the last
wicked.
couple of fights.
I think he's wicked.
He's got variety with his jab now. It used to be very, I think he was very similar to Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce is big and strong, and it was like, every shot is hurtful. But I believe Dubois has learned to lighten up with his shots and be lighter on his toes, and I think that for me will probably be the difference and why I think he might win.
I feel like Dubois has definitely got a very big chance of winning. Do you know what I mean? But if I had to choose, I'd just have to go with Joyce. Do you know what I mean? He's like the new age George Foreman. That's what he reminds me of. But I don't know. I just feel like he's been around for a little bit longer. He's got that, and I just think it's his experience that might edge it. Do you know what I mean? But it's boxing; anything could happen. Do you know what I mean?
They're both very inexperienced, but they've both got silly knockout power.
Yeah,
and a cracking fight to be made, isn't it?
I wouldn't say Joyce. I would personally wouldn't say Joyce is inexperienced just because of his WSBs. Do you know what I mean? He's like he's fought Usyk as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like he's a bit more seasoned than Dubois is. Do you know what I mean? He's fought.
Yeah, because Dubois didn't have much amateur experience.
And he's fought a lot more high caliber fighters in the amateurs and the pros. Do you know what I'm saying? So he's been challenged, he's been tested, and you can't buy that. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. For me, that it would lean towards Joyce, but I wouldn't be surprised if Dubois wins, if I'm honest. But I'd choose Joyce.
But that's why we all love boxing.
Yeah, of
course.
No one knows. No one knows.
We know you're back on March the 29th.
I'd
say on a Clifton Mitchell show. Where's that going to be?
I think it's Whitwick, which is Leicestershire.
Is that near here?
Colville. Yeah, it's in Leicester. Colville.
I'm totally lost now. I just followed the A50 all the way here, and I followed it all the way home now. Listen, I totally enjoyed it.
Quality, man.
But a great story, I say. Hopefully this is going to continue and you get back to where you're on. And maybe if Zelfa goes on winning, you two get it on again. And
well,
there's honestly, it's like looking in the mirror looking at you two.
There's a couple of things like that will be getting announced very soon anyway. So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to letting you guys know what's going on in that, and it'll be good, man. It'll be good. Stay tuned.
Okay. Well, that's it. Good. It's not an exclusive no more, but I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. Good. Leon, it's and we know it's how to spell your name now as well.
Yes, L-Y-M.
It's not with an E, it's with a Y. Nice. And I'm right for the first time ever. Listen, take care. Good luck for the 29th. Say hello to Ben. I won't be down there, but say hello to Ben Fields.
Can I just shout out my main sponsor, which is...
No, send me the logos over and I'll run it through the video. They've got plenty of time to watch it then.
Okay, fine.
It's only about an hour and a half long.
Alright.
So, thoroughly enjoyed it. Take care. And like I say, hopefully you get back to winning ways on March 29th.
Quality, man.
Which is my mother's birthday as well.
Oh, beautiful.
So, take care. See you then. Bye.
For all boxing info, news and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north, click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.